After a dazzling 3 first rounds of the season, it's now time for the second race of the weekend here at Sonoma, California. I'm Jonathan Grace. Joining me in the booth today will be Ryan Marine. Amanda Busick will be down on pit lane with us throughout today's show. Ryan, yesterday's race, I don't think you could have asked for any more action from start all the way until the finish. It was a phenomenal contest.
It's what you've come to expect from Toyota TR Cup North America, that's for sure. Spike Kohlbecker got the win, but he had to fend off the likes of Will Robusto and Max Schweid, Ethan Goulart, Garrett Maines, all in the top 5. And if you go a little further down in the grid as well, I mean, there were battles everywhere you looked.
There absolutely were. You could see it on your screen a moment ago. Picturesque weekend here in sunny Northern California. There's the man of the hour. And he's been the man of the first 3 rounds. Has won now 2 of 3 early in this title fight, solidifying himself immediately in the conversation for the championship battle. Let's take a brief look through what unfolded in Saturday's race because it was action-packed. First race of the weekend saw battling right from the beginning. It was Jeremy Fletcher who started the front row of the grid right alongside your pole spitter and Spike Kohlbecker. And look at the banging wheels right off the start. No action taken from race control, but they're hoping for some cleaner running later in this race. Beltray Curtis collected some signage, and that was the disastrous moment, the decisive moment for Jeremy Fletcher. Parkered along, going a little bit long as he did battle with Max Schweid, who carved his way up the field, and boy, didn't he have a busy race. Made himself up the order by the time the checker flag fell, but he had a heck of a time of it. He had a heck of a time battling with Ethan Goulart as well, who held on to 3rd position for much of that race. A comeback effort cut short for Peyton Fan, set up a battle to the checkered flag after a restart that Spike Kohlbecker managed absolutely beautifully. Will Robusto in 2nd, but there was the decisive moment. Banging wheels for Max Schweid. Spike Kohlbecker got the job done, took the checkered flag over Will Robusto and Max Schweid, a brilliant 3rd, but that's how it went on Saturday. And Will Robusto will look to try to improve on his position again. He starts today's race in 4th position, a little further down from yesterday, but still on 2nd row of the grid, and I still think a lot is possible for him. We saw him jostling for position right from the get-go. He was actually pushed wide, I think, a little bit on lap 1 yesterday.
Just need to be in that top 5 in the first half of the race or so, and that's when things really start to get serious. No question he's got the pace to challenge up at the front of the field. We've seen that from Will all throughout the season. 2 podiums through the first 3 races. He's definitely one of the championship contenders.
Yeah, I think he is. He's come into the season with that mindset. I think he's got an RVA graphics crew that can help him out. There's plenty of teams and plenty of storylines, plenty of drivers that can immediately be in that conversation. A healthy field of 27 GR86 Cup cars setting to do battle. All 27 that started yesterday will start today, and they'll fire the engines and bring those cars to life. It's a great little sound. Spike Kohlbecker and the front row of the grid sharing with Will Robusto. It looks like starting right alongside him. So cars will roll as they get the go-ahead. And Spike Kohlbecker has the 2 car right alongside him.
That looks that way. Doesn't really matter where you start in one of these as long as you're inside the top 10, right? As we talked about. Expect the racing to be close. These are cars that have raced really well here at Sonoma through the years, and race 1 yesterday was no exception to that. Great looking field, plenty of star power all up and down this field, and also a few drivers that are really anxious to put a disappointing day behind them. Fletcher is one of those, so too Parker DeLong. They showed great pace but didn't have the result to show for it.
Couldn't agree more, Ryan. Let's take a look at how this grid is unfolding so far. It's Will Robusto who will share the front row with your pole sitter Spike Kohlbecker. Just behind them for Copeland Motorsports is Jeremy Fletcher and Max Schweid, who will start in 4th. Jensen Safronis takes the 5th place position with Beltray Curtis. Look for him to charge from 6th. Garrett Maines, a good effort for him in 7th at the number 11, and it's Ethan Goulart. I think a lot's possible for him in 8th. 9th is Ethan Ayers. 10th is Parker DeLong. Michael Edwards will take the 11th place of the grid with Joseph Malley for company in 12th. It's Malbec Ramos in 13th with a good qualifying effort mid-pack for Ava Schletz in the 85. Nathan Dupuis in 15th. Emilio DeLauro for BSI Racing is 16th. is Jared Oderick in the number 17 for Dream Machine. Number 18th is Liam Harrison. Jay Thomas will roll off the grid in 19th with Ryan Power in 20th. Levo Galanti looking to bounce back from yesterday in 21st. And 22nd is Rafa's Maite Caceres. Patrick Brunson in 23rd. Peyton Fayen in 24th. She might have some pace under her as well. 25th is Massimo Sanseri. Carter Wilson is 26th with Ausir Araujo starting the grid in 27th. We mentioned Peyton Fayen. She had that comeback effort hindered just a little bit by some damage midway through, I should say, in that race. Set up a late dash to the checkered flag, but she was in the middle of a really strong comeback effort. I think she's going to be one to watch from the rear of the field because I don't think she'll stay there for long.
I tend to agree because she had to start from the pit lane yesterday. That was residual from an incident that happened at race 1 in Arlington, and consequently was at the back and then some, but had raced her way forward when misfortune struck. And you just have to wonder, was that residual from the incident at Arlington? That car was still being repaired when we arrived at the racetrack earlier this week. Hopefully things are taken care of and she can get some kind of a result, because it has not been the start to the season that she dreamed up.
No, but she was the highest finishing female on 7 occasions in 2025. Here we go then. Spike Kobecker and Will Robusto set to share the front row of the grid, but it's Jeremy Fletcher just behind. He will be hungry for a good result after a disastrous race fell away from him yesterday. Spike Kobecker looking to double up on the weekend in Sonoma and extend his points lead, but Will Robusto wants race wins this season. Max Schweid had a great busy race yesterday. He can see clear air in front of him. Spike Kobecker waits for the command, takes the green flag, and he jumps out. But going with him is Jeremy Fletcher on the inside. Will Robusto might have to give way, and Jeremy Fletcher takes the Copeland machine up the inside, up the hill. It's a precarious place to make a move, Ryan, but I think he's done it. Will Robusto hopping the curb on the inside, but now he's got Max Schweid for company. A phenomenal qualifying effort for Jensen Sofronis. He's in 5th and looking to hang on to the position for the moment. But Ethan Goulart further back, trying to make some moves as well. The 42 car trying to hustle his way. Parker DeLong through positions, and now it's Sofronis having to go defensive. 2, 3 wide further back in the field, but up front it's still Spike Kobecker who leads.
Wow, that was a great start there for Fletcher. Exactly what he needed from the second row of the grid to get up to second, trying to put the disappointment of yesterday behind him, and he's done so in a good way. Kobecker has a bit of the advantage coming out of the carousel, but keep an eye on that Copeland car of Fletcher trying to reel him in as they make their way down the drag strip for the first time.
There they go into the braking zone. It was a great run out of 6A for Will Robusto, going 2 and 3 wide. That's Beltray Curtis taking the alternative line on Garrett Maines. Garrett Maines had a busy race yesterday as well. He and Sofronis did battle more than a couple times, but Spike Kobecker at the point, still continuing to lead over Jeremy Fletcher. How soon does Jeremy try to spring the trap further back in the field, going 2 and even 3 wide through the S's? A busy place to try to make moves there, but getting it done cleanly. Kobecker over the curves, but Jeremy Fletcher has not let him run away. The front 3 starting to separate by just a little bit, but still it's as close as ever.
Fletcher made his debut in the championship midway through the year last year, had a couple of podiums, but finally got that first win in race 2 at Arlington. But the DNF yesterday has him in a points hole, especially when his championship rival went out and won race 1 of the weekend. All he can do now is try and finish ahead of Kobecker, but that's easier said than done. Spike is in an amazing vein of form right now.
Yeah, he is, and it's hard to stop a driver when they get into a run of momentum right now. Spike has seen success at times here and there throughout his championship campaigns in years past, but this is the season with a lot of weight on him. This is the season that he's put a lot of pressure on himself to perform, and he's done that brilliantly in the first couple of parts of this season, but right there with him the whole time, yesterday aside, has been Jeremy Fletcher. But we saw in qualifying, Fletcher bounced right back, and he's continued to show that pace, and Fletcher is right on his rear bumper right now, just 0.4 of a second back, but Will Robusto was still there, less than a second behind is still.
Yeah, top 3 separating themselves at this stage. They're clearly the class of this field in the early going. Max Schweid trying to keep pace. Ooh, somebody off track a little bit further back to pick up the number on that. I think that could have been Jay Thomas possibly, but able to continue on.
The 812 for Rafa Racing went side by side and even off track for a moment about a half a lap ago through the S's. As battles continue to rage further on down the field, the leader now starts the S's, but this is where the action area is. And there's Spike Kobecker now.
Spike pulling away a little bit from Fletcher here. That said, Fletcher actually had a great first sector, but Kohlbecker answers back with the best middle sector of the race so far. Pretty much everybody's setting their best sector times as the tires come up to temperature. Look how much curb these cars are able to use up and over that curbing in the chicane. That's the quick way through. We saw that on display yesterday.
We absolutely did. You have to have so much confidence in the machinery, so much confidence in the setup in the car that your team has given you. Spike Kohlbecker saying that he gives a lot of credit to his Tech Sport Racing crew and the platform that they've delivered him this weekend. He's doing a nice job of it. But how often did we see just about every session in Arlington, Ryan, that Jeremy Fletcher was tit for tat with Spike Kohlbecker? There was nothing between them, and I think that's continued on here to the third and fourth rounds of the season in Sonoma.
Yeah, still early going, of course, in the year, but it does seem like those two are on a plane of their own. Kohlbecker brings so much experience from this championship here. On the other side of things, Fletcher has done a lot of single-make racing in similar low horsepower, low displacement cars, and that's carried over nicely, but he's had to learn some new tracks, he's had to learn the car, he's had to learn the tire, maybe most importantly. But as he gains experience, I think he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with.
9 total wins coming into this weekend for Spike Kohlbecker, collected his 10th since this series began in 2023 and looking for number 11 here. He's got the 22 car of Jeremy Fletcher for company, and still Will Robusto hanging on to the back of this train. The front three have started to fan out just a little bit now. And if you're Jeremy Fletcher, Ryan, as a driver, you've had some time behind the wheel yourself here and there. What are some of the things that you're doing to try to focus forward and reel in the race lead?
You're just sizing up strengths and weaknesses, maybe thinking about looking after the tires as best as you can as well. It's not a super long race, of course, but do expect the pace to fall off as the race wears on. So you're gauging your strengths versus the car that you're chasing, but on the other hand, making sure you've got something to fight with, especially if there were to be a reset with a safety car late in the going.
And we could see that as well. That would eliminate all of the advantage that anyone has gained so far. We can see all the way back to 10th place in Parker DeLong have separated themselves from the majority of the rest of the field. We're seeing a big train of cars. There's Ethan Goulart leading Beltray Curtis, and Curtis is looking for a rebound effort yesterday, and right on cue, the 93 in the wall. That might be the interruption that could bunch this field up again. It's Brunson. We go full course yellow as the 93 is hard into the wall, but able to escape under his own power. That Eagles Canyon with fast track car making heavy contact, but will be neutralized regardless.
Yeah, that was understandably a quick trigger on the full course yellow, because you have a car that's off track and spinning in front of other cars there, and it looks like a pretty major impact. I'm pleasantly surprised that he was able to drive away from that, but speaks to just how robust these Toyotas are.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's pretty remarkable, able to drive out of the tire wall. Not often you see that. It was a full force hit from one end of the track to the other. Looks like he caught just a little bit of snap of oversteer as he went wide onto the dirt. It can be so hard to save a slide like that, especially in a rear-wheel drive car.
Well, Patrick, this will be a disappointment, but I thought he had a great debut in Arlington, 15th and 12th in the two races in terms of the overall order. And Amanda told the story about how he got into motorsports. As a young kid, watched Days of Thunder. His mom, a couple of days later, dropped him off at a fun park go-kart track with, quote, $25 and a dream. Well, this is where that $25 has led racing here in Toyota GR Cup.
Took the Legends Cup victory twice in Arlington, did a nice job of it. The 93 has been serviced and actually right back out there. Looks like they're going to give that car the go-ahead to continue. Pretty impressive as well for the 93.
Looks like he was able to stay on the lead lap as well.
Huge. That's a massive stat there if he's able to do that.
Massimo Sunseri, I don't know that we've covered this off. That car was shown as stopped on the opening lap. It's not completed a lap. Now, under full course yellow, it's limped its way around to the pit straight and is stranded on the outside wall adjacent to the drag strip. We can see that out our window, trying to get the car refired, but that is a car that's had a couple of issues, it would appear, in the early going.
Well, that was so interesting because it came out of the kink that's not really a corner in turn 12, and it looked like it just drifted towards the wall. It almost looked like Massimo wasn't intending to go all the way to the wall. Then we can see him try to apply power again and get that car going. The recovery vehicles, good news, are right there, but I'm curious how they're going to handle this one. We will, of course, stay yellow until that threat is cleared, because it's in a pretty precarious part of the racetrack. The track loops around to the left, and you start to fade out and just get a little bit more towards that outside wall, right about where he's parked to set up for turn 1.
Frustrating for the BSI Racing driver. Failed to see the checkered flag in the second race at Arlington. Best overall finishes on the season through 3 races, a pair of 16ths. But this one looks like it might be coming to a premature end for BSI Racing. And Pennsylvania Macaroni Company is the sponsor on that car as well. I've been dying to work that in, and I'd love to sample some of the product as well, if at all possible.
Massimo, too, I think a driver that's looking to have another big year, another one of those drivers that BSI has taken under their tent, came under the tutelage of Weston Workman in many ways, especially in the second half of that season. We talk at length and sing his praises, and deservedly so. But Weston went from a driver being mentored as he was the entire way through 2025 to really doing some mentoring of his own and a lot of coaching, and Massimo was one of the drivers he really took under his wing to try to help him improve.
No question. In the first 8 races of the season last year, no finish better than 14th. But starting at Road America, the final 6 races of the season had 2 finishes inside the top 10, including a season best of 7th in the season finale at race 2 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So this is a driver that you could tell, as the experience grew, getting some help and some helpful tips from the champion-to-be in Weston Workman that helped him along in his development. Just didn't get the start to the season that he would have dreamed up. Yeah,
really hard to see this position for him here. I'm hoping that when we rebound and we go to COTA for rounds 5 and 6 of the season, that Massimo is able to rebound a little bit. He actually had a pretty decent finish yesterday, 16th overall. And that was a really solid mid-pack finish. Of course, he, as you said, last half of last season, could finish higher up the order than that, but we'll go no further in this one here.
Getting a look at the side just a moment ago, I think it was Livio Galante we were looking at, who had some wheel marks and donuts on the side of his car. That one's been through the wars here today. Not surprising. Charlie Kimball, who is the race director for Toyota GR Cup, former IndyCar driver, he told me the message to the teams and drivers coming into the weekend was, let's not have this be a contact sport, please. Not sure you could totally weed that out of a series as tightly contested as this one, but it has been a step forward relative to the way things started on the streets of Arlington, race 1 in particular.
I agree, and I think the start of this race here, I think, was a little bit cleaner than the start of the race we saw yesterday as well. We saw Jeremy Fletcher and Spike Kohlbecker quite literally come to blows right off the start. That ruled a racing incident by race control. What they look for, and this is in speaking with Charlie just this morning, is they look for a driver who is wholly responsible for an incident without being able to assess entire responsibility on either driver. He said their hands were pretty straight. They have a lot of data at their disposal, telemetry, onboard cameras, multiple angles, the broadcast feed, what have you. They determined it was kind of equally on both. He went down, spoke to both drivers. They were both very respective, but he said in many ways Spike Kohlbecker actually did a lot of things right as well. He handled the restarts well. He took instruction from race control well. That's exactly what you like to see. Maybe an indication of something that could have sparked this incident here for Massimo Sinceri. An incident between cars 51, that's Massimo, and Carter Wilson in the 90 has been noted. Did that lead to this result?
It's a distinct possibility. I think you're right. Usually when you see the 2 numbers pop up like that, you get our messages from race control. There's a reason behind it, especially when we know one of the 2 cars has failed to complete a lap just yet. Wilson had a tough day yesterday, failed to see the finish, credited with a 26th place result overall. That's part of the Eagles Canyon with Fast Track team, and what a huge operation Toby Grahovic has brought here for another year of GR Cup competition. And he said there might be even more cars coming for the next round at Circuit of the Americas when I talked to him earlier.
Oh, I know. It's hard to believe. I don't know how they fit all of those cars under the tent. It's an ever-growing tent, it seems, as well. They actually had to change some of the pit lane regulations last year to fit all those cars and to make sure there wasn't any kind of competitive advantage as to where they're placed should one of those cars need emergency service during the races. I think that's pretty incredible to see. But Eagles Canyon Raceway tends to be a proving ground for so many drivers, and the organization they run there is absolutely top-notch. So glad that they've shared their skills and shared so many of their cars and drivers with us here in GR Cup.
With room to grow, it sounds like. But to your point, yeah, I don't know where they're going to put these extra cars, but yeah, really special program that they're putting together. And actually, one of the drivers that they've brought here, Jared Audrick, is an excellent athlete in his own right. I don't think we've had a chance to talk about Jared yet. He's making his debut here, but he was the 28th overall pick in the 2010 NFL Draft. Had an extensive NFL career, 7 years with the Dolphins first, then the Jaguars, but has been racing at the grassroots level, done some Trans Am racing, actually won a Trans Am TA2 Pro-Am championship last year. Not just an athlete on the gridiron, but a remarkable athlete full stop who's adapted well to motorsport.
Well, phenomenal to see, and so glad he's chosen to go the motorsport route and help muscle some of these cars around, as I'm sure he has no problem doing. Spike Kohlbecker still behind the GR86 safety car. It appears, Ryan, as if the lights are out. Massimo Sinceri has been cleared from the front straightaway. We'll see if we go green this time by. There it is, the safety car speeding off into the distance. It will climb into pit lane. Last chance to clean up any pickoff off the tires, to put some more heat and brakes into the tires, the rims, the surface of those Continentals. Spike Kohlbecker, as he did yesterday, has to contend with a restart, but unlike yesterday, he's got Jeremy Fletcher right on his bumper this time. Heads around the final bend, and he effectively becomes the safety car as he hits the restart zone. Green flag waves when he goes, and he does. Spike Kohlbecker leaping out, but it's Will Robusto actually with a pretty decent run on Jeremy Fletcher, and there's Max Schweid just waiting to pounce in the background. The top four already leaping away over Sofronis in fifth.
And Sofronis under some pressure himself. Main's got a pretty good jump, but it looks like Sofronis was able to absorb that pressure. This could be a career day for Jensen if he's able to keep this car in this position, running inside the top five. It would be a first career top five for Jensen. Now, here's the lunge to the inside. This is for second place. Robusto taking a peek at Fletcher. That's let Kohlbecker escape.
Absolutely, and Spike Kohlbecker will be absolutely loving seeing what's unfolding in his mirrors, because the longer they're fighting, the more he can extend his advantage. And the Copeland driver all of a sudden has his mirrors full. Will Robusto can see a second place. He can see a first place if he can play his cards right. But this is also helping Max Schweid, and we know he's not afraid to go door to door.
No question. That was on display yesterday. Right now, Schweid sitting in fourth place, just off the podium. White and purple car that you're looking at, center of the screen, coming through 7 and 7A. Behind him, though, it's Ethan Ayers doing battle, fighting with Beltray Curtis, and put Ayers up one more spot. He grabs 8th place.
Curtis was pushing and not a result he wanted, hit some signage and ended his day early, but he's got so much pace. He's been one of the positive storylines. Parking along just behind as well, trying to have a sniff. Side by side, here goes Robusto, door to door with Fletcher. They're going to be even Steven as they hit the kink of turn 10 and slam on the brakes for turn 11. There is nothing between them. It's equal machinery on full display. Do we fold in the door mirrors? No, but Max Schweid is trying to go with him. Robusto wide to the outside. Fletcher hugging the inside curb, gets just a little bit of mid-corner understeer, but the positions hold as it stands. It's Will Robusto to second place. He got the move made, but it had to come through a couple sequence of corners. He sent that one all the way back up in the braking zone for 9.
Just behind, Sofronis losing a spot. Coming around the outside is Main, so that's 5th and 6th changing hands, and it's not done yet for Jensen Sofronis. Ethan Goulart next to line up to take a shot. Kohlbecker, though, has run away and hidden 2.8 seconds to the good over Will Robusto.
Yeah, in GR Cup, that's kind of an eternity, isn't with how close these cars run. Look at the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way back as far as you can see in your picture. But Will Robusto will try to scamper off into the distance because Jeremy Fletcher is now under pressure from Max Schweid. Max Schweid had a chaotic race yesterday, trying to make it less chaotic here, more straightforward, but he's going to have to clear the Copeland driver. And right now, if you're Jeremy Fletcher, you need to focus forward. You need to set your sights on trying to hang with Will Robusto to try to maybe come back at him later in this race, because your main championship rival is scampering off into the distance right now.
Easier said than done, though, because Schweid has arrived on the scene. Max with finishes of 3rd, 4th, and 3rd through the first 3 races of the season. He came in to this event 2nd in points, just 16 out of the championship lead, which was held jointly between Fletcher and Kohlbecker. That's changed since yesterday, with Kohlbecker scoring maximum points and Fletcher struggling. So you're looking really here at the fight for 2nd and 3rd in the points in the early going.
Absolutely, and Schweid had a phenomenal race, ended up finishing on the podium too, so maximizing his day. I don't think he could have worked any harder. He wants more than 3rd at the moment. He's knocking down the door, sitting in 4th right now, but he looks to the inside, I think a little bit too far back. Sofronis goes way defensive on Ethan Goulart, who's now come up 1 position, but Goulart's gonna have to go defensive because he's defending from Ethan Ayers. Ethan Ayers trying to put that 78 car above the Indava liveried 72. They're door to door as they make the left-hand kink of 12. Goulart will stay just in front, but it's just, and one of them is gonna have to yield into turn 1. Ethan Goulart holds the position.
Ayers has to back out of it. Really don't like being offline through this section of the track. If you could avoid it, has to tuck back in line, but that's left him vulnerable in his own right. Here comes Beltray Curtis once again, closing up on the back bumper of Ayers and Goulart. The 2 Ethans nose to tail in their own right, 7th and 8th.
Jeremy Fletcher going a little off track, kicking up a bit of a tactical smoke screen as further back moves being made. That's the 12 car of Joseph Malley just behind. They hold position, so Ethan Goulart still on the hunt. Jensen Sofronis hanging strong, hanging firm in 6th place. Finished 10th yesterday, a great result for him, but more on offer. There's Will Robusto opening up a little bit of a gap as Jeremy Fletcher behind has had to play the defensive game under pressure from Max Schweid. There's the separation. All the while, Spike Kohlbecker resets the fastest first sector of the race. He has the fastest racing lap so far, a 1:52 flat, and that's helping his efforts because Will Robusto is just starting to creep in, but still 2.6 seconds back.
And Jonathan Kohlbecker's got that best lap by a wide margin, 2/10, nearly 3/10 faster than the next best time that I'm seeing on timing and scoring right now. It has been domination of a kind that is rare to see in Toyota GR Cup. Kohlbecker throwing it down here as we approach the midway point.
Single file through the turn 9 and 9A chicane. They will run as they did a lap before. Robusto and Jeremy Fletcher with Max Schweid for company, at least in the top 5. But Schweid is going to have a snip. Going to the inside and late on the brakes and trying to go with him. Behind is Garrett Maines. Are we going to get a 2-for-1 special? Jeremy Fletcher cannot continue to afford to move backwards in this race. He's under so much pressure. Closes the door on Maines, but he's going to have to yield to Schweid.
Oh, he's the cork in the bottle of this battle pack. No question about it. Just look at what Robusto's been able to do since getting around. He's pulled out a massive gap, a couple of seconds over that battle pack Fletcher right there. Now with Schweid just ahead, we'll see if Schweid also disappears out in front of the Copeland driver. Next to line up for an attack is Maines, Sofronis, Goulart, Ayers, Curtis, DeLong. They're all lined up to take their shot.
Yeah, Jensen Sofronis thought about it, but so too did everyone behind him. Puffs of Continental Tire smoke as everyone hard on the brakes as they come down the hill. Side by side, Ethan Goulart now has company. It's Ethan Ayers who continues to try to make that move. We saw them go door to door a couple laps ago. Goulart on the inside, banging wheels, trying to force Ayers to the outside of a very tricky unloaded turn 6. They file back in line. Goulart holds the position for the time being, but Ethan Ayers is hungry for that position, isn't he?
Little Ethan on Ethan violence there at apex of the quarter, and it's Ayers that comes out on top in that scrap. So that frustration there starting to build perhaps deeper in the pack. Parker DeLong is another one I've got my eye on. Down in 10th, a dismal day yesterday. Didn't see the checkered flag, and as they run, only would score a single point for a driver who comes in with high hopes for a title.
And a lot of pace as well across the course of this weekend. Ethan Goulart to the outside of Sofronis, nothing giving there. Single file once more through one of the best passing opportunities, one of the big hot action areas on this track. And look at that train of cars. You could throw a blanket over them. There's nothing between anybody. Schweid is scampered off to a little bit of a lead over Jeremy Fletcher, just 0.4 of a second. Meanwhile, Will Robusto up the road, 2.7 off the lead, but Sofronis has his hands full. hole in the middle of this train. You mentioned that Jeremy Fletcher might be the cork in this bottle, and I think he is, because he certainly seems to be holding up Garrett Maines behind. I'm wondering when Gaines is going to be close enough to try to spring a move. Garrett Maines has a good run up the hill, but this is a tricky part of the track to try to make it overtake, isn't it?
It certainly is. Really single file unless you see a mistake through this part of the track or if traffic intercedes in some way. But we're reaching a point here where you can start to think about setting up a move through the carousel, the long run down the drag strip to 7 and 7A. A look at the circuit performance, Race Vision powered by AWS, and it's the overall leader Cole Becker that has the best times through 2 of the sectors. Second place Robusto has the best time through sector 3.
Yes, he does, but we're having a great time watching this battle. Malbec Ramos and Joseph Malley going door to door. Just behind them is Mike Edwards for Eagles Canyon. Talked about him at length yesterday. The youngster trying to get one over on Malley in front, door to door as they head onto the back end of the drag strip. He's going to have the outside line, but who's a nose ahead into the braking zone? On the inside is Malley. And look at the outside line from Edwards going way wide. Sometimes this is preferable, but you have to get the nose tucked back in. He finally does, but it's behind the 12.
Yes, can't get the move done there, but we'll size him up through the S's. Any bit of rhythm, any bit of momentum you lose through this section could be costly, because this hairpin, this chicane rather, is a decent passing opportunity in its own right. Keeping our eyes on the back of this battle pack, watching Edwards, not close enough to make a lunge. DeLong, on the other hand, is close enough. He puts the bumper to the car in front and got a little contact from behind as well.
Yes, he did. Beltre Curtis had his hands full to the point where he actually knocked the windshield wipers for just a moment. Beltre Curtis with already some nose damage, might have some rear end damage, and there goes DeLong again, way late on the brakes, and that was maybe a little bit too late in the move. Curtis will keep position, but now this drops DeLong back into the clutches of Malbec Ramos, Joseph Malley, and Mike Edwards in that battle behind. Meanwhile, further up the road, pressure, pressure, pressure if you're Jeremy Fletcher.
Barely hanging on there in the fight with Maines. Maines now ahead of Fletcher, it would appear, at the top of the hill. Safrone is sitting behind, but he's got his mirrors full with Ethan Goulart too.
Yeah, Jeremy Fletcher continues to slip back just a little bit. Look at the defensive line. Fletcher to the outside, Safronis way to the inside, and I think Safronis is going to be the benefactor here. I keep seeing puffs of smoke off that front left from Jeremy Fletcher. I wonder if there's a lingering issue. There's certainly a lingering issue here, a current issue for the 865. That's Ryan Power from BSI Racing, who's gone off track and now back onto the track. Track stays green for the time being. But look at Fletcher now under the pressure of the 78 car of Ethan Ayers, one BSI driver. And there's Ethan Goulart doing battle with Jensen Safronis. Safronis on the inside. Goulart's going to try the old over-under. Handled beautifully by the young driver in the Mobile One livery. Ethan Goulart, nothing doing. He's going to have to tuck back under. Tucking back under is Jeremy Fletcher as well. It is so busy through the opening of the S's.
And this day started with such promise for Fletcher, starting up front, but he's just been dropping back and back. And I think you're right. A few times we have seen that puff of smoke coming off of that car. We know that he had an issue yesterday. Just wonder if not everything is copacetic aboard that car for Fletcher, and now his job is just to try and score some points here today. Right now in 8th he would do that, trying to salvage a decent result on a difficult day.
And now Ethan Goulart trying to make his way past Jensen Safronis. Safronis, maybe not the ideal line through there, but it's enough to hold Ethan Goulart at bay. Plenty of pressure from Ethan Ayers behind. Jeremy Fletcher continues to sink, but this is the battle for 5th. Jensen Safronis slipped back a position, got his way back up to the front, but now is he holding up the BSI driver just a little bit? Either way, he's doing a great job in defense. He won't care who he's holding up because he's having a heck of a time out there running in the top 5.
Safronis representing Copeland Motorsports with an assist for the family GMG racing team. That was the dominant team in GR Cup racing for the first couple of years, but behind him is Goulart for BSI, which came to the fore a year ago with the championship year for Weston Workman. 2 of the top teams on the grid doing battle here, but it's for 5th and 6th.
Yeah, Goulart would like to make his way up the order, a single win in this championship against Safronis, who was just a youngster continuing to learn, but you would know it by how he's driving. This is a very mature drive from Jensen. Ethan Goulart behind, though, is going to come under pressure from Ethan Ayers pretty quickly. Jeremy Fletcher, I think, just a little bit too far back to make it in pressure. He's now facing pressure from Beltre Curtis and DeLong, but this is the trio we're watching. Safronis a little bit wide on the exit there. Coming in is Beltray Curtis with the 42 of DeLong just behind. DeLong, a little puff of smoke as he gets the car rotated and sent back in to apply the power. Sofronis continues to lead this trio down the hill through the S's. Fletcher is actually now caught back up to the rear of this train. Now a 4-car battle as they slam the brakes into the turn 9 chicane. Sofronis late on the brakes. Ethan Goulart has to check up just a little bit. Going over the curb is Ayers. Does this change the run down to 10?
Ooh, Fletcher a little bit wide on exit, kicking up some dust. That cost him momentum. Ayers, though, is starting to draw a bead here on Goulart, down into 11. Not close enough to make a lunge. Sofronis also pulling out a bit of a gap here. This is the least amount of pressure he's been under for some time.
Really interesting, Ryan, the different lines into 11. Some look like they've overshot it, but just kind of creating a long mid single apex corner in what others are taking as a double apex turn. Multiple philosophies. I don't know that one is faster than the other, just driver preference where they are feeling the grip or lack thereof in the car. But either way, Sofronis taking the latter of the approaches. 2 apexes in 11, has now made his way to the other side of the track, up the hill. There's the compression as you change the direction, switch the hands to the left, and Ethan Ayers is going to try one more time on Ethan Goulart. And huge amounts of dust kicked up. Jeremy Fletcher, I certainly think he's battling some kind of issue in that race car. It looks all out of sorts.
I agree. You don't expect to see that out of Jeremy. He's pretty neat and tidy typically, and has been a front runner since he arrived in this championship. Tough weekend for him, but again, goal now, just maximize the day, get what you can out of it when things aren't quite in your favor. We've seen some runaway champions in the past, but that said, you never know when those points could be really valuable late in the year.
Valuable move for Joseph Malley, getting past Malbec Ramos, who went wide a couple corners ago, set up this move, but it's the 17 of Ramos who's later on the brakes. But is it the over-under? Going under is the 12. They're going to be door-to-door. Joseph Malley able to make the move there. Perfect. Get your opponent to overshoot the braking zone just a little bit, duck the nose under, continue on the racing line. Job done. But now it's Mike Edwards just behind in the Eagles Canyon by Fast Track Racing Machine. Good drive continues for Sofronis in 5th, and Malbec Ramos may not quite be done with this one because Joseph Malley continues to have company, continues to have pressure. Ramos still wants that position back.
All of this happening well behind Spike Kohlbecker, who leads overall. Leads by 3.3 seconds over Will Robusto. Max Schweid has pulled away from the 4th, 5th, 6th battle. He's solidly in 3rd position. Here, though, again, we find a good fight. Sofronis, Goulart, Ayers all running together with Fletcher trying to keep pace.
Meanwhile, back you can see the biggest movers and shakers. Peyton Fain has made up the most positions of anybody in the field. We mentioned her looking to make moves. She's into the top 20 after a troubled weekend so far, coming from a backup car yesterday that had some lingering issues that the team was unsighted by, caused an issue that was not her fault at all, but continuing a comeback charge. Similar to what we saw yesterday, a strong showing from her. She's still got some room to run, and she's less than a second off some of the cars in front as well. So Sofronis has broken away a little bit from Ethan Goulart, and Ethan Ayers just on back. 2 BSI Racing drivers who have kept it respectful but hard so far. Meanwhile, at the 4, here's Spike Kohlbecker, who has pranced out to a fairly comfortable 3.5 second lead, 3.3 seconds to be exact. Max Schweid 3.3 seconds back from that battle, but about 6.5 off the overall lead. But Spike Kohlbecker has dominated this race right from the beginning. Good clean start, good clean restart. Nobody has seemed to be able to match his pace today.
I think you could make the case he's dominated the weekend, not just this race. Won yesterday from pole with the fastest lap of the race. He's got the fastest race lap so far here in race 2. Started up front, trying to sweep the weekend. And if he could do so, that would mean through 4 races, he would have 3 wins and 1 second place. Hard to quibble with that.
Yeah, if you're going to cement yourself in the championship battle, that's a heck of a way to do it. But let's talk about Max Schwein for a second. He runs 3rd. If he finishes in 3rd, that's a nice haul of points for him. Of course, he would want to be further up the order, but he's been a bit of a dark horse in the first couple of rounds of this season as well. He's been involved in multiple on-track battles, but getting plenty involved in the championship fight now as well with this good string of results.
Super consistent over the course of the year. Finished 3rd twice in the first 3 races, was 4th in the other race, and finds himself sitting 3rd once again as they run. Came in with a 16-point deficit to the championship leaders and would lose ground relative to Kohlbecker because Kohlbecker would have won both of these races, but that would keep him very much in contention and might move him into sole possession of second place. We'll have to see how the points shake out in the next 13 minutes or so. But yeah, Schweid's having a really solid outing here once again. Just adding to that podium tally. He only had one all of last year. This would be 3 in the first 4 races.
Yeah, this would be huge, and he earned it yesterday. He's earning it today. He's earned himself a healthy amount of clean air today as well. Crucially, a marked difference from yesterday. But let's continue to follow on with Jenson Sofronis here in the 41. He's done such a good job in breaking away from the veteran in this series, and Ethan Goulart. And now trying to set his sights just a little bit further forward on Garrett Maines. Not an easy task, but he's got a little bit of a gap to play with.
This was not a good weekend for Jenson a year ago. DNF in race 1, mustered a 16th place finish in race 2. After that, a couple of top 10s at Coda, then another dry spell. Didn't get back to the top 10 again until Barber. Got a career best result of 6th in the season opener at Arlington this year to Jenson Sofronis. Runs 5th right now. That would be a new career best if he were able to hang on.
And he's built on the foundation nicely. A top 10 finish yesterday. And the problems continue for Jeremy Fletcher further back, just seeing out the window. He's gone long through the chicane. And that's not the favorable line. I certainly think he's dealing with something other than a lack of pace. I think it's probably something out of his control, doing his best to corral it. Plenty of other cars further back in the field. We're getting a look at some of the battle scars, some of the tire kisses on the side of the doors. But Jeremy Fletcher's day continues to unravel.
It does. Better news for Livio Galanti, though, the Italian who is the reigning Legends Cup champion, out in front in that Legends Cup here in race number 2. Tough day yesterday for Livio, only mustered a 21st overall. This is what you referenced a moment ago with Jeremy Fletcher, Jonathan, going long in the chicane, and we've seen those puffs of smoke. There's been some reports maybe of a brake problem on the 22 car. Whatever the case, he's now just barely in the points, running in 10th.
And he's now right behind this battle between Beltray Curtis and Parker DeLong, and trying not to get too involved, but that Copeland car does not seem very happy anytime Jeremy Fletcher gets on the brake. But Beltray Curtis is not going to be happy with all the pressure behind him. We know he's got tons of pace, but the 42 is all over the back of him, pushing him down the hill into 6A. What kind of a run does he have? And all of a sudden, Jeremy Fletcher refusing to be anything but race. He may have fallen to 10th, but certainly not for a lack of effort. He is hustling that car around as best he can. Curtis a little bit wide, but stays on the racing line. DeLong right there with him, and there's Fletcher in tow as well. A little trio of cars.
Beltray Curtis, the Baylor Bear, trying to hang on to the 8th position here for Copeland Motorsports. Another driver, second-generation racer. His father, Brett Curtis, has done a lot of sports car racing over the years, so nice to see the younger generation following him through, but he was late on the brakes, too late, in fact, into the chicane. That opens the door up for DeLong.
Yeah, Parker DeLong now on the outside as they make that right-hand kink of turn 10. He's going to have the outside line into 11 unless he makes a drastic move, but they are door-to-door, wing mirror to wing mirror as they slam on the brakes. Curtis might just be able to hang on to this position, but Jeremy Fletcher, brake issue or not, he is trying to go with him. He is managing that well. He has slipped back a couple positions, but he has done a nice job of keeping himself composed in that race car. Joseph Malley has now joined this trio behind, making it a 4-car tussle with Beltray Curtis at the 4. Curtis running in 8th. That's the battle right now. Spike Kobecker, fastest man on track. You can see that by the race vision, but this is the race we're following here. Curtis through a puff of smoke, kicked up by some of the competitors in front, but DeLong has made his presence known.
This is 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And crucially, 10th is the last position that pays points. Just a single point, but every point valuable in a championship like this. At the moment, Fletcher's got it, but he's going to have to fight to hang on because it does not seem like that car is entirely to his liking.
Absolutely. You can see how often do you see a racing driver with an issue just kind of relinquish and fall back in the field and settle. Jeremy Fletcher says no thank you, goes a little bit wide there, allowing Joseph Malley through, but he's popping the nose and he's trying to make moves and he's trying to come back on Malley into the braking zone, flashing the headlights saying, hey, I want to go through still. Back on the outside line here, Joseph Malley, defensive to the inside. got to be so difficult to deal with something, a race car that just doesn't feel right. The car's not responding in the way you want, and still trying to focus forward. I think he's doing actually a pretty remarkable job of it there, even if his pace and position isn't reflective of the pace and positioning that we're used to from him.
A valiant effort, but I'm afraid it might be a bit of a forlorn hope with that car not quite up to snuff. Sits now outside of the points in 11th, but you can't fault the effort from Jeremy Fletcher or the determination. It's been fully on display here with 8 minutes to go.
Parker DeLong just 2/10 and some change off the back of Beltray Curtis. Curtis right along the outside of the pit wall. DeLong goes a little bit wide, a little bit of a line differential again through turn 11. No change in position there. We'll see how they string out when they make their way onto the main straightaway. Good little jump off the corner there from Curtis. He's done a nice job of drawing a gap, but look at the Eagles Canyon car. Excuse me, the Tech Sport car of Parker DeLong coming back at him, hopping the curbs.
Getting a nice run as well, closing in this fight. DeLong has 9th, Curtis has 8th. Look at their respective race progress. One trending upward, the other going the other direction over the course of the race so far.
Parker DeLong all over the back of Beltray Curtis now as they head down the hill. And yeah, just such a tough race for the Copeland driver. Got so much pace, so much promise, so much prowess under that tent as well. Curtis dives the nose down into 6. DeLong trying to change the line to set up a run into 7. Fletcher refusing to go away though on Joseph Malley behind. Is this close enough for the 42? About a full car length between them. Does this close up in the braking zone? Doesn't pop to the inside. Might be trying to set up something through the exit of the S's instead. Thinks better of it. Wise racing from the both of them, but goes a little bit wider into 7A. We see that indicative of a move coming later on down the straightaway. Lengthen the acceleration zone and try to give yourself the best run possible as they go left, right again, down through the S's of 8 and 8A. Onto that little short run straightaway. It's shorter than you think before you slam back on the brakes and have to change direction into the very tight 9 and 9A complex too.
DeLong's been sizing this move up for a while. Got a good jump out of the chicane that time. This could be his chance. Sensing that pressure, it looks like Curtis will guard the inside at least a little bit. Here comes DeLong feinting to the inside, but now we'll try the long way around, or at least try to get the jump off of 11.
And is he trying to set up a move down the main straightaway? I don't know, but he certainly feigned a move at the very least. He kind of jerked the wheel to the inside just to maybe try to catch Beltray Curtis sleeping, but Beltray Curtis is well awake. Curtis now leads this battle, this train up the hill into a high commitment section of the racetrack, up towards turn 2. Then a large direction change with lots of compression. Car unloads as the car gets light over the crest. Up and up and up they go into the rolling Sonoma hills, and Parker DeLong is going right along with them. Compression now as they make their way to the highest part of the racing circuit. So tough to make a move, but you can certainly set one up, and DeLong is thinking about it, thinks better of it as they dip the nose down and go back down the hill into 5.
Curtis neat and tidy there, just never opened up the door, never gave a real opportunity for DeLong to try and take a lunge. Instead, he'll have to settle back in line, looking around the outside here through the carousel to get that cross back to the left at the exit of the corner. But again, we see Curtis super consistent on his line, never makes that crucial mistake that DeLong can use to take advantage and grab the spot.
Yeah, and every lap it seems like Curtis draws just a little bit of a gap through 6 and 6A, a little bit more comfortable in the second half of that corner once you get back onto power and set up that run down towards a crucial braking zone. But all of a sudden, the number 12 car of Joseph Malley has kind of started to enter this equation.
He has, doing really well to mix it up with a couple of guys that have some more experience in these cars than he does. Sits in 10th right now. Pretty good effort.
9th place finish yesterday, so uber consistent from one day to the next, and he can see matching that right now. Trying to finish a little bit further up in the top 5. We can hear the squeal of some Continental tires as everybody pushing absolutely to the limit as they do in the turn 11 braking zone. Malley way to the inside and has his sights set firmly on the 42 in front.
Meanwhile, Kohlbecker leads by 5.6 seconds now over Will Robusto. Max Schweid 4 seconds further back in 3rd place. Good fight starting to break out for 4th, 5th, and 6th with Maine, Sofronis, and Goulart. But look how long you have to wait from Kohlbecker in the blue car to Robusto here in the white and red and black machine. And give a call out as well to the two teams involved. Tech Sport Racing with Kohlbecker out in front, his return to Tech Sport here this year. And then RVA Graphics Motorsports with 3 of the top 4. That's a really good showing out of that camp.
It is, and Kohlbecker actually moved teams last year as well from RVA to Tech Sport, making a little bit of a change. So one chasing the other, the old team chasing their old driver, but doing a good job as well. We mentioned, again, the prowess with which Tech Sport Racing and RVA have come out of the gate with this year. I think they've looked stronger than they ever have in this championship, and they've absolutely made themselves forces to be reckoned with. Will Robusto, for the second day in a row, having a bit of a boring race. Max Schweid has actually had a hard-earned boring race as well. Not quite boring, it's plenty exciting in the car, but he's got some clean air as well. Just behind, Garrett Maines has found himself some room to run in. He's about 5.4 seconds off the back of Max Schweid, about 15 seconds off the overall lead of Kohlbecker.
Yeah, exactly. Really neat, tidy races from that trio, especially as we get deeper into the race. Schweid was in the fight early on, but since he's been able to get the track position, settled into a rhythm here in 3rd place. And we talked about it at the time when Kohlbecker built that big lead at the restart, and then when Robusto cleared away from the rest of the pack and built a bit of an advantage of his own. Really difficult to overcome multiple seconds of deficit to another front-running car without a safety car intervention, and it's been a relatively clean race.
I couldn't agree more. But this battle might be hotting up. It certainly hasn't gone anywhere, certainly hasn't spread out at all. Beltre Curtis continuing to lead DeLong and Malley. A little bit more of a gap now for Curtis as they march up the hill. Oh, look at the body language of the car, proper sideways for the 42. As they go through the direction change, reminding you that it is a rear-wheel drive in every sense of the word, and DeLong trying to make a move as they hit the compression up the hill towards 3A. Not a place you typically nose in a car, but it doesn't matter. DeLong to the outside. Is Joseph Malley going to try to go with him? This is a high commitment part of the track. He's hanging it around, goes into the dirt, has to corral the race car. He might lose 2 positions now, and he does only lose 1, but Beltre Curtis continues to lead, but now he's going to have Joseph Malley for company as they go down the hill. That could have been a whole lot worse for DeLong. He did a good job of saving that one.
Again, kudos to Curtis because he felt that pressure coming and positioned his car in the exact right spot that forced DeLong to go the long way around. It still almost worked out for Parker, but he got in a little deep, went wide into the dirt, and it cost him not just a chance to take a spot away, but a position in and of itself, and now he finds himself down in 10th.
Easiest thing to do here is start to drive frustrated. You can make some simple mistakes, focus on the fundamentals, and try to get that position back. But Joseph Malley would like to catch up to Beltre Curtis, but it's Parker DeLong who's trying to make the move now. And look how close he is in the braking zone on the outside line. Slightly defensive mid-track for Malley. Doesn't seem to matter. They file through in single file, but it's a really good run out of the corner for the driver of the 42, and Parker DeLong is going to be right alongside him. He's going to go on the outside. Does he switch to the inside? No, thinks about it, and then back onto the racing line. That was nearly precarious there.
White flag is out, so this will be the final lap here. Leaders have already crossed start finish, about 10-15 seconds ago ahead of this pack. This has been wonderful news, manna from heaven even, for Beltre Curtis, who's under no pressure whatsoever. Malley opens the door to the inside. Here comes DeLong again.
Boy, what a place to try to make a pass. Malley is all sideways, saves the car, kicks up some dirt, but no harm, no foul, only loses a position. But huge commitment there from Parker DeLong to corral that one and get the position back. So he's exactly where he was a couple laps ago, but plenty of action in between. And Beltre Curtis, I think, has just enough of a gap if he can hold this one together. But here is the man of the hour, the man of the weekend, and the man who's made a name for himself in the early part of this season, entering the final sector of this racetrack now, the number 15 Tech Sport Racing car, that bright blue machine. It's a new team, it's a new color scheme, it's a new car for Spike Kohlbecker, and it's a refreshed championship title hope. He has dominated the day.
And it's a special weekend, too, because a man who meant a lot to his early career, Scott Blend, is here racing this weekend in GT America. Already had a podium run in his GT America debut earlier, but that was one of his early sponsors, a couple of St. Louis natives. Spike Kohlbecker greeted in victory lane yesterday by Scott, who had a huge smile on his face knowing what he's helped to bring to bear.
And I have a feeling Scott is pumping his fist in the paddock as well, watching this young man cement a name for himself in this championship. You've heard his name before. You're going to hear it a whole heck of a lot more this season. Spike Kohlbecker sweeps the weekend perfect in Sonoma and extends his lead in the overall championship points as well. Will Robusto consistent as ever. He hasn't gone anywhere. Second, and it's third for Max Schweid as it was a day ago. Garrett Maines a brilliant fourth, and Jensen Sofronis, hats off, a career best fifth place finish for him.
Goulart, hard fought sixth place, just ahead of Ethan Ayers. Those two were at it hammer and tongs. Curtis, DeLong, and Malley completing the top 10. Fletcher outside of the points and had to fight hard to hold off Mike Edwards there coming to the line.
Yes, he certainly did. Battles resuming. The 93 was in the wars early on, has continued to fight back despite making an unscheduled trip down pit lane. Patrick Brunson fighting all the way to the line. Checkered flag continuing to fly. Can he make the move past the 90? Ducks to the inside. That's Carter Wilson trying to make the move stick. Is Brunson on the outside? I think he's going to be just a little bit too far back, but trying. It's going to be darn near a photo finish. Carter Wilson able to hang on, but Patrick Brunson, what a run to the line.
That's what you love about a series like this. No matter what your pace is, chances are you're going to find somebody or somebodies to race with closely. We saw that on display all throughout the weekend and all season long. That's what we anticipate. It's what makes this must-see racing when you come to the racetrack on an SRO America weekend.
Ryan, I don't think we took a breath for the second day in a row from the time the green flag dropped until the checkered flag fell. Even then, further back in the field, action all the way through. But Spike Kohlbecker, my goodness, what an impressive start to the season. 3 wins in 4 rounds. He is the man to beat.
It would appear that way. You're right. 3 wins and a second place through the first 4 races. Builds on that championship lead. You get the sense this is a pivotal season for Spike. He's done this championship 3 prior years. He's finished 3rd or 2nd in the championship in each of those years. Could this be the year he finally breaks through?
Let's take a look at the final order here. We talked about it. Tech Sport Racing dominant in Sonoma. Spike Kohlbecker, the man of the hour. After 23 racing laps, he finishes a healthy 7.2 seconds ahead of Will Robusto. RVA Graphics, what an outing for them. 3 cars in the top 5, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for Will Robusto, Max Schweid, Garrett Maines. Jensen Sofronis, a career best 5th place finish. He's the fastest of the Copeland drivers today. That is a huge result for that young man. BSI Racing 6th and 7th with Ethan Goulart and Ethan Ayers. They both had their hands full today. Beltray Curtis, an 8th place finish, had plenty of battling going along with Parker DeLong in Tech Sport Racing in 9th. Rounding out the top 10, Joseph Malley, the fastest of the Eagles Canyon with fast track racing cars, just about 28 seconds off the lead. Further down the order, another solid finish for Ava Schlitz. Livo Galanti as well, an 18th place finish after a hard day yesterday. Ryan, my goodness, what a race. Peyton Fayan, a solid comeback effort, made up a couple positions there. A good charge to 24th. Maite Caceres, we saw some drama for the 812 early on. Didn't matter, still a good finish in 22nd. But Massimo Sinceri, 22 laps down after requiring recovery. An incident will be investigated post-race, but he did not finish. So cars now making their way into victory lane. Spike Kohlbecker, I'm sure his team will be happy to see him. He's got the visor up already. He can finally take a breath. I don't imagine he had a ton of room to breathe after reeling off quick laps. He set the fastest lap of the race, racing-wise, midway through, 151.6. Really never looked back. It never really looked like anybody was in contention. You can see the blue tape on the top of the visor trying to manage some of the sun glare around here. You spent time behind the wheel. That can be a massive distraction, can it?
Oh, it's awful when you have to drive straight into the sun, that's for sure. And we've had a lot of sunshine throughout the course of the weekend. Actually, a little bit of cloud cover starting to roll in as we get later into the day here at Sonoma, but still prepared for everything there, Spike Kohlbecker. And I don't know, I don't even think a little glare from the sun was going to slow him down with the pace that he had relative to the rest of the field this weekend.
No, it's been all smiles and all sunshine for Spike as he gets the Continental Tire bib. Amanda Busick is down in victory lane. She's ready to talk with our race winner.
Spike, I know you're not getting tired of this moment, but 3 wins already this season in just 4 rounds. How have you answered the expectations on you this season?
I think so far pretty great. Again, Tech Sport nailed that, and that's a weekend sweep. All the fastest laps in the races so far. I think if I got that one and led every single lap, and I just can't believe it. It's just such a good day, and I'm so grateful for all my family and my supporters, and looking forward to some more racing at COTA.
I think I just counted you have your 11th win in the series, and you've had a win in every season that you've competed in. The depth of knowledge that you have in this championship, how does that help?
Yeah, it definitely helps with setting up the car for sure. These are spec series, as most viewers know, and you need to be a good driver, and you need to have a good setup on the car, and also be able to adjust the car to the weather, and I think we did that perfectly this weekend.
Congrats, Spike. Enjoy the ride.
Thank you.
Spike Kohlbecker, a special season starting for him. And I continue to think that this series does such a good job of developing drivers. Amanda mentioned he spent so much time in this series, and now finally we're starting to see all that raw talent, all that practice, all that hard work come into fruition and pay dividends.
3 wins already this season. He's never won more than 3 races in a single season of GR Cup. So matching his career best from 2024 in terms of win total, and it only took him 4 races to do it.
Absolutely, and if you're Jeremy Fletcher, you need to bounce back. And let's hear briefly from Amanda Busick, from the winner of our Legends Cup as well.
What I love down here racing in the heat, you can see what the performance took out there for you this weekend, Livio, but today's, where did you find your holes?
Well, first of all, I found my holes by finishing the race at 58 ripe years of age. It's a little bit more daunting as you look at the kids come out and they don't look like they even really worked out. So super fun. Sonoma is an incredible track without a lot of rest. You kind of have to get used to just hanging in there till the end. So super fun, very grateful to be on the field with these incredible talent and kids, and thanks Eagles Canyon and Fast Track for taking us here.
Congrats, Livio. Spike's cheeks were red too.
All right, thank God. Thank you.
Let's take a look at how the day unfolded for the second round of the weekend here in Sonoma for the 4th round of the championship season for GR Cup North America. Cars took the green flag as it was yesterday. It was Spike Kohlbecker on pole position. Jeremy Fletcher went with him but was battling an issue throughout. Here was some of the chaos early on. Some cars bumping and bobbing over the grass in the Sonoma dirt, but this race was only interrupted briefly by a caution, and here's why. It was Brunson into the barriers, got the car back under his own power, and even finished the race, but Kohlbecker had a restart to contend with. Further back in the field, it was Jeremy Fletcher who continued to battle an issue, and I think that lost him a lot of pace. Multiple drivers battling their way through, but Fletcher stuck it out, continued to try to finish this race. Here's Will Robusto making the move on the Copeland driver with Max Schwein just behind. You can see in your picture, Sofronis had a great race as well. Beltre Curtis had plenty of pressure from Parker DeLong behind. A late move attempt, and Curtis did a great job to try to hold on to that position as well. A career best finish in this series for Sofronis, and the day continued to unravel for Fletcher, a weekend that he will want to continue to forget and move on with this one. Beltre Curtis, though, a phenomenal effort from him to hold off some pressure. He had a busy day that finally got a little bit easier at the end, but it wasn't until the very end of the race because Parker DeLong went all the way onto the grass and into the dirt, and that's what finally gave him some breathing room. Curtis finished 8th in this one and came under the pressure from Joseph Malley at the end, and Malley was all kinds of sideways, and that ended up finishing the race. But Spike Kohlbecker, the man of the hour, dominated from start to finish over Will Robusto and Max Schwein. Garrett Maines and Jensen Sofronis made up the rest of the top 10, or the top 5. Let's take a look at the title standings now. It's a 93-point total for Spike Kohlbecker. A huge margin for 61 points back for Will Robusto, 57 points for Max Schwein. Round 4 produced a lot of excitement on COTA. We'll see you for the next one.